Hi, friends. It's Cheryl from Tutoring with Cheryl. And my topic today is homework tips. Homework tips and tricks. What's going to work for your child? And I think that's the key, your child. We have to know our kids well enough to know what will work. But I think we also have to know the teacher or the teachers and what the expectations are. As a former elementary school teacher, when I was really young, I gave a lot of homework because I thought that was what the expectation was. And as my seasons changed and I became a parent and I became I decided you just get more history behind you. I decided that homework was only going to help if there was something that really needed to be practiced outside of the class time. So when I was in school and in working as a classroom teacher, it was more along the lines of I'm going to make sure that if my students have homework, it's something that they either didn't get finished, they really need to finish because there's a deadline, or they're going to be working on a project. So it's maybe, hey, tonight, I want you to go home and find this picture and come back and be ready to go, or finish typing on your Google document, or instead of assigning, like it used to be, you had to send home all the homework of the 30 problems, which I thought was absolutely crazy and was a nightmare in my books, to saying, I want you to do these 5. If you can't get them done here, let's get them finished up later. And I just kind of came to the realization that sending kids home with a bunch of homework was not the answer. And here's why. Number one, they either didn't have the time to do it, the setting to do it, or their parents could not help them do it. So that's what I really want to talk to you about in today's chat, about successful homework tips, things that you should know. And like I said, the very first thing that I want you to do is start with knowing your teachers. And of course, the kids need to know the teachers. And the older they are, we need to hold them responsible for really knowing what the expectations of the teachers are, listening to the directions, writing them down, and knowing what they're what's the end result. And teachers are so busy, but they will provide the information for your child. They just have to be in a situation where they're actually hearing it and then acting upon it. So I've got a couple of students who are going to be 5th and 6th grade this year. And one of my goals this year is to really help them understand the importance of taking good notes in their assignment notebooks. And some of my students are on IEPs or they have 504 plans. And so they're expected to keep track of this homework. And usually at the beginning of the year, there will be somebody that will check it and make sure that they're doing it right. But then as the year goes on, the expectation is that the child is getting that done on their own. So one of the things I plan to do starting in September with my students, when I'm back started with my fall lessons, is to mimic the teacher and what the teacher might say. And I think I said this in a previous recording. It was either on my Spotify recording, or I did it live in one of the lives. But anyway, that's kind of beside the point. So I'm going to say something like, the teacher might say, read these pages and answer these questions. Okay, so whatever that teacher said, you need to jot that down in your assignment notebook. And then I'm going to have them practice it. And because I do my tutoring virtual, we'll have a shared Google document that they can type on, or I might share a Figma whiteboard or something like that, a Fig Jam, and then they can write it out. So I can see what that's going to look like for them, because they're probably not going to be typing it. 5th and 6th probably won't type it. But if you've got a high school student, they might have a device and they might be typing it in. So this is something that you can practice at home with your high school kids. Hey, let's practice that. This was something that you struggled with last year. Let's really work on that and give them a few things to practice. My second practice is going to be not just verbal, but I'm going to have something written out for them. And then I'm going to say it again. And then I'm going to ask them to write it down and see if that makes a difference. And then I'm going to say, where is it that your teacher writes these directions? Do they put it on the board? Do they put it in your Google Classroom? Is it on Canva? Where are they putting it? And let's practice that, because I think it's really important that kids know the teacher's expectation, and also for parents to know the teacher's expectations. The next thing that I want you to really think about is having a homework-friendly area, okay? If you're like most parents in the world, you're working full-time, both parents are working, you're coming home, the kids are getting home right at the time where maybe they've been at daycare for a while, or they've been at the after school program, or maybe they've been at home because they're old enough to kind of attend to themselves. And then you're rushing to get supper on the table, and then the kids are supposed to maybe be doing their homework. I think that's the hard part. You want to find a homework friendly area. And it really does need to be free of distractions. Okay. So the TV really cannot be on with the evening news. You might want to listen to it, maybe stream it on your phone and have one earbud in so you can hear it, or record it and watch it later, or watch the later news. I know that really puts you in a bind. But again, if we want our kids to be successful, we have to find ways that we're going to set them up for success. So a few of my students that I meet with in our one-to-one classes, they even have desks in their bedrooms. So the doors open, the parents come in, they check on them, they're working on their homework, whatever, but it's their quiet place. And for them, that might be distraction free. For others, it might not be. So really think about that, and then make sure that they have access to things that they're going to need. Do they have paper, both lined and unlined? Do they have pencils that are sharpened and ready to go? Do they have erasers? Do they have their colors, their markers, their scissors, their glue, whatever it is that they need? So really set them up for success. And then having a regular study time. That was one thing the last few years as a school teacher. I did not send home a lot of homework, and parents would be like, hey, would you please send home homework? And I would just say their homework is that they need to be studying their math facts. So however you want that to look. And then they need to be reading 15 to 20 minutes a night. And if you want them to, take notes or report back to you or whatever, that would be great. But it was really more of you establish those practices at your house. And the one thing that will do for your child, will kind of cement in them that there's a time for putting effort into something that they're working on. So let's think about your job. You have a job as an adult, or your creative outlet, or whatever that happens to be. You set time aside for that. Okay. You might practice or study for whatever that happens to be. And so we want to teach our kids at an early age that that's an okay thing to do and to plan for it. So these are building healthy habits for later on. I'm not saying that your child has to study every night. As a matter of fact, if they just studied 2 or 3 nights a week, I still think that's worth something, because they're cementing in their brain that they have to kind of manage their time. Help them make a plan. I believe I said in my recording the other day that, ask them, what's in your bag? Let's go through it. Literally pull it out and look at it. And then say, well, we've got 3 things to do. Where do you want to start? And then start wherever that one place is, but say, we're going to work on this for 15 minutes, this for 10 minutes, and this for 5 minutes. So you only have that much time to get this done. And so hopefully that will spur them to getting that work done. So having that plan is really going to help. And then make sure the kids do their own work. I know we want to help, but please do not write the answers down for them unless they have a physical disability and they actually cannot do that for some reason. Maybe they broke their arm, or maybe something happened physically to them that they cannot do it. When we do that, we're giving our kids permission to be not in tune with what's going on, and you're doing the work. And so that's sending the message that homework is not important. The homework is there for practice. I hope that's what it's there for. And so put them in charge. It won't hurt them. It will not hurt them. It might not be pleasant, but it won't hurt them. And you want to be a motivator and a monitor. And yes, you can be a teacher, but then also explaining to your kids that the way you learned it might be different than the way that they're learning it right now, and giving them permission to learn things in more than one way. That's like when you're building with, putting a puzzle together, or building with Legos, or solving a problem. Show your kids that there's more than one way to solve the problem, whatever that problem happens to be. Give them license to fail. Failure is a big motivator. We don't want to keep our kids in the failing mode, but getting something wrong and then showing them why they got it wrong might take a little bit of extra time, but then they remember it. And that happens in my practice too. Like I'll say, why don't you type out a sentence? Tell me what we read about. And I will just let them type. There could be errors in spelling, punctuation, capitalization. Then I'll say, can you read that back to me? And they read it back to me. And then I'll say, now I'd like you to check that for capitalization and punctuation. And right away, they're like, oops, they go back and fix it. Then I'll say, do you see anything that's underlined? Before you do the right click on your cursor, let's sound that out. What sounds are we missing? Oh, I didn't put the S on the end, or I don't have the ing or the ed, or I know it's supposed to say E, but I don't know if it's E-A-E-E or E with the silent E at the end. Yep, that's right. Let's talk about that. So those are the things. That's how you coach your children through that homework. And I know I'm really talking elementary right now because I am an elementary specialist, but these things will still work for your high school students. Even when you're working with them, you don't have to have every answer. And here's the other thing with homework help. You might know the teacher, you might know the expectations, you might even have the directions right in front of you, but you are not physically in that classroom with that student, with your child. And so you still don't know 100% what the outcome is supposed to look like. So as a tutor, I hesitate many times to help with homework and be the homework specialist because I don't want to get it wrong. Also, I mean, clearly I'm not going to have the answer to everything. I'm just human. But then I also tell the kids, hey, listen, this is what I think your teacher means. I hope I've got it right. Let's go with this information. If you get it wrong, then I want you to have a conversation with your teacher and ask what you could have done better or differently. And that's how we learn. That's totally how we learn. I mean, think about keeping track of your finances. You might not do it every day and you might not do it perfectly, but there's a time and a place where you have to sit down. You have to look at your numbers and figure out where you're going. Thank you to my husband who takes the bulk of that. He knows what I'm talking about. Okay, so we want to, by doing homework with your child, we want to foster that independence, but we also want to encourage cooperation. This is a time in the evening where you're stressed, you've had a whole day, your kids are stressed, they've had a whole day, they're tired, they're hungry, everybody's sleepy, and everybody just wants to relax. So yesterday or the day before when I did my recording on routines, I emphasized having a break. And that's another thing I want to talk to you about is when are they starting homework? And think about yourself. You've been at work for a whole day. You worked 8-9 hours. You had a half-hour drive home and crazy traffic. You had to stop at the grocery store, pick the kids up. You're tired already. Give yourself some license to have a break before you start. That becomes a little bit challenging when you've got a first grader and their bedtime's at 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. And I realize that. But then I also hope that the teachers aren't sending home huge amounts of homework. As a matter of fact, I found somebody that was recommending, this was on mindresearch.org. They were recommending that kindergarten, first and second graders have no more than 10 to 20 minutes of homework. And that's one of the reasons why when I'm working with younger kids, my sessions don't last more than a half hour because they're done. They're done. If we can get to half hour, I celebrate that. But once they get into third, fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, they should be able to handle 30 to 60 minutes. And that kind of pairs right along with my 30-minute lessons. A lot of my kids are bumping them up to 45 to 60 minutes. But by the end of that, we're kind of finished. And then middle school to high school can do 60 minutes or more per class. Okay. I hope that your child does not have 8 hours worth of homework, because if they have 8 classes in the day, that's too much homework. So that's the other thing. High school teachers, if you're listening, remember that you are not the only class for this student. And that was something that when I first started teaching and I was departmentalized and I was doing 5th and 6th grade math, I had to be reminded of that. Okay. And so as educators, sometimes we think it's our job to send home homework. I know, yeah, they got to keep working. They got to keep doing whatever, but that's not the case. If the homework is there for a purpose, that's great. Have them practice. But if they don't have the help or they don't have the knowledge to do it, sending it home is not going to work anyway. So we're kind of in a catch-22. We can set our kids up for success, but then there might be an instance where you can't help them. I specifically remember this. One of my son's school teachers was teaching a specific method of diagramming sentences. And I really don't remember the name of the program, but they had to do these curves and loops and whatever. And at that point, I was in the same school district, but I wasn't trained in that. And they weren't planning on training us because they wanted like the first, second, third grade teachers to do all this phonics training so that when they got to third, fourth, fifth, sixth, they'd already know what to do. And he came home one night and he's like, I don't understand this. Can you help me? And I looked at it. It was a foreign language. It was something I'd never seen before. And I just had to say, I can't help you with this. I'm really sorry. Let's see if there's somebody who can. Well, he ended up going in the next morning to get some extra help. I don't know that the teacher was super happy to see him, but he learned a lesson from that he had to pay attention. And then also that mom can't help with everything. And sometimes it's okay to say, I can't help you, but then come up with a plan for how are we going to get help? If you can't do it and I can't do it, then we need to find some help somewhere. Call a friend, call a neighbor, call a classmate, whatever. And now with technology the way that it is, when my kids grew up, we didn't have teleconferencing. So yeah, you've got it now. So there you go. No excuses, no excuses. There's a lot of other ways that you can help your child with homework, but these were just some tips and tricks that I hope that are helpful for you. And if you get to the point where, your child is really struggling and every night is, a battle, think to yourself, is this a learning problem? Is this does my child really need more help? And do I need to go and address this with the school? Always start with the teacher. If there needs to be additional academic testing, you can always ask for it. Ask for them. They start with an intervention. Maybe they need to just fill in the gaps. And then if you really want outside help, contact somebody. There are people like me all over the place that are able to help your child, but we don't help with everything. And that's the big thing that I think parents need to know. You need to know what the specialty of the tutor is. So my specialty is reading, writing, and spelling. Yes, I can help with math. And as a very good math teacher in the classroom, but teaching children from all around the world and knowing what their teacher wants them to do in math, for me, it's not the best fit. Yes, I can absolutely help your child. I can fill in the gaps, but helping them with them on a specific project or something like that I'm going to leave to the experts. I have some friends that are math tutors that I would highly recommend. So you can always get in touch with me and I can send you along the way. So that is really pretty much it. I did want to remind you, I'm recording this August 15th, 2024. And in September, I believe September 9th, that week, I'm starting some small group reading. It's a new venture. I've never done it before. I've done small group math before as like a camp, and that was a lot of fun. But I really want to help those struggling readers. And so the goal of this small group is to look at key sounds, syllable sounds in the middle of words that kids don't always get, especially second and third graders, because once they get into second and third grade, they're now past the consonant, vowel, consonant, and the silent E rules. They're learning they've probably already learned all the sounds and still aren't confident with them. So my job is to go in and I want to do about 18 lessons with them where we specifically focus on these middle sounds and not also prefixes and suffixes. We expand our vocabulary and our background knowledge so that they can be successful in their other academic areas, and then building in some writing and spelling to go along with that, with supports for parents to do on the weekends or whenever they can find the time. Because again, if your child has a bunch of homework, this isn't meant to be homework. This is meant to fill in a gap. And this wouldn't be for the really severe struggling reader. This would be for like a student that's like just below grade level in their reading, just below grade level. This is not for a student that's like, a year or two behind. So they're just below where they're supposed to be. We can give them that boost. And I think you'll see a really incredible amount of growth. That's the thing. Tutoring doesn't have to last a lifetime. And I think sometimes parents are led to believe that if they get into a tutoring situation, that they need to be in it for a very long time. And that is simply not the case. Sometimes short bursts of tutoring can really help. So if you are looking for more information about tutoring with Cheryl, you can find me at tutoringwithcheryl.tutorbird.com. You can come in and read and get some freebies. You can see testimonials. This is my child doesn't like to read. What can I do? You can click the link. I've got a freebie on ways that you can help support learning at home. You can download my welcome packet to get more information. And then here is the group information and the dates and times. I have reached out to a couple of homeschooling families and said, if you want to create a small group and you want me to run that for you, I'm happy to do that in the day. These are evening and weekend times, but if you've got something during the day. And my tutoring classes typically are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I can leave Fridays and Saturdays for any potential cancellations or anything that would happen in my own personal life where I would need to get caught up on. And I really try to steer clear of Sundays, but I have been known to do a makeup session on a Sunday afternoon at about 5 o'clock. So that's all I have for you guys. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this was helpful. Make sure that you like and share it. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll get right back to you. You guys make it a great day. And as usual, keep the learning going.